Hey there, you sexy, sexy people, it's True Review! Right here, with another top 10 list. And isn't it a shame when something great gets announced in the media, only for it to then get withdrawn and never see the light of day? Kind of like what happened with a certain YouTuber and his Twitter account recently. Sorry again about that. But with all of this, minus my screw up in mind, here are the top 10 games of awesomeness that'd be awesome that never actually came out. The main rule for this video is that it does not include games that are stuck in development hell. It either has to have been confirmed to be cancelled, or was originally announced but has since gone silent. Thus, Half-Life 3 doesn't count on this list, so suck it. And hit it! Thrill Kill! There was a time when violence in video games was labelled the cause of all of the first world societal problems. And if President Trump would have anything to say about it, we may find ourselves back there soon. But would you believe that when this shitstorm first kicked off, some video games decided to fight back with ridiculously over-the-top violence and gore? Well, of course you can believe it. I mean, we have Manhunt after all. But not one to be outdone by the rest, Paradox Development began working on a fighting game that was not too dissimilar to Mortal Kombat called Thrill Kill. However, this game never saw the light of day due to what was deemed at the time to be such levels of violence and gore that this game was slapped with the rare ESRB Adults Only label, which was usually reserved for games with nudity and sex in it, yet this was the first one to receive this award for just its violence alone. And of course, the moment this happened was also the moment that EA acquired the rights to this game and immediately put the title in the trash. 6 Days in Fallujah! This third-person tactical shooter by Atomic Games was originally supposed to depict the events of the Iraq War through the eyes of the US Marines. But what set this one apart from most other modern warfare shooters was that this one was going to be A, based off an actual and very recent conflict, and B, it was going to be as realistic as possible as a way of showing the true brutality of war. Thus, development began, and the game was originally going to be published by Konami. Oh fuck. Well, that's a bad sign straight away, isn't it? And my point was proven, as Konami ended up dropping them from the publishing roster. The problem this game faced was that it was drawing a lot of controversy due to its violence and very graphic depiction of a conflict that still affects families and loved ones even now. But Atomic Games wanted to soldier on with the title, no pun intended. I mean, after all, Black Hawk Down had a game, so why not us? And announced the launch date of being in 2009. But as of 2018, the game still hasn't come out, despite claims that the game was finished years ago. Oh well. Star Wars Battlefront 3! Hold the fucking phone before you start blasting away at the keyboard. No, I am not talking about the recent Battlefront games for fuck's sake. I'm talking about the original Pandemic and LucasArts games. You know, the ones that were actually good. Well, would you believe that the third one was supposed to be in the works? Well, you do now, as the third game was going to carry on the trend of being good, clean, rebel scum action. Though there was also going to be different scenarios and settings and such. I guess the reason why this is on here is that the original Battlefront games are kind of what we'd like the recent ones to be like. As in, be all about Star Wars action and having fun, rather than the soulless pay-to-win experience that it is today. Prey 2! No, True Review, this one actually came out. Actually, no, viewer, it didn't come out. Well then why did we get one last year? Listen here, you little shits. Don't make me come down there and whoop your ass, because the game we got in 2017 wasn't the original sequel to the first game. In fact, the 2017's game was more of a reboot. But there was going to be a sequel to the first Prey that was supposed to be released many years before that, as it was announced in development in 2011. It's just that for some reason Bethesda went, nope, this is shit, start again. And what we ended up with was a reboot. Now, this is where things get a little confusing because Bethesda claims that Prey 2 was simply not meeting their expectations, despite an impressive E3 trailer, yet the developer, that being Human Head, was saying, well, this game is looking awesome, despite the lack of resources, lack of manpower, and Bethesda cutting our funding, and then eventually taking it away from us and giving it to others, and then cancelling it anyway. It was a great game, so what the f***? But that was the end of that one, I'm afraid. Conker's Other Bad Day. I was kind of debating whether to put this title on here or not, because I'm not sure if another Conker game is a good thing or a bad thing. After all, I'm not sure what this industry needs right now is a wisecracking, foul-mouthed talking squirrel with a hangover. Or maybe it does, I'm not entirely sure. But it cannot be denied that the first game was both charming and offensive at the same time, and you've got to love it for it. And yes, we got a HD, sort of, port for it with Live and Reloaded, and then apparently there was going to be a multiplayer game too, but there was also talk of a second game to come out which would have acted as a sequel to the first. But then Microsoft came along and quietly snuffed it out of existence along with Rare itself, and that was that. Which was a shame because I was looking into what was going to be featured in this next game, and instead of the Great Mighty Poo, we were going to get a massive space poo called Cthulhu Poo.
Mambo number 5.
Fable Legends! This one's kind of fairly recent, all things considering. Originally set for release in 2016, this game was going to include a sort of multiplayer theme, where parties of 5 players, made up of either real players or with bots, would go off into the world and make their own story, with one player being designated as the antagonist and could influence the adventures of the others. Alas, this would never come to be, as several changes to the original formula later, and a whole load of f*** it being thrown about the place, led to this game's servers being shut down before the blasted thing was even released worldwide. And not to have a dig at the Mollenmeister, but I'm inclined to believe that he did his usual shit of dreaming too big and leaving his developers in the dark. Oh well. LMNO. I've got an idea for what might make a great game for you. Check it out. So, escaping from loads of people who want you dead, loads of parkour and FPS gunplay, an emotional tale, is produced by a team that has made surprisingly entertaining games in the past, and is directed by Steven Spielberg no less. Well, I don't know about you, but I'd say that this one already has my attention. But once again, we're dealing with EA here, and apparently they know what's best. And the best thing for us right now is to axe that game faster than Anne Boleyn's head. Which is crazy because you're basically saying that Steven Spielberg doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, sure, this is a video game we're talking about and not a movie, but you still need direction here. You still need someone to steer the course in terms of how the story's presented to us after all. Sure, he isn't going to know about the technical or programming side of making a game, but I think that he might know something about how to tell a story in the most relatable and entertaining way possible. You axed the guy who directed Schindler's List, for fuck's sake. I'm pretty sure that LMAO, or whatever it's called, was in good hands. Fuck EA. Agent! Now, we don't exactly have much to go on with regards to this one, as Rockstar never really told us much about it. But what we did hear sounded pretty damn good. Though Rockstar are best known for the GTA series, they have created other titles over the years that have taken the world by storm. Red Dead Redemption, for example, and the second one that's due to come out. The Manhunt games, which garnered a lot of controversy when it first came out. LA Noire, which seems to have picked up a bad rap over the years, much to my confusion because I really like that game. But back in 2007, Rockstar announced a new game that they were working on called Agent. Set during the Cold War, this game was going to be a stealth action game all about espionage, spying, and intelligence gathering, which is all the same thing if you ask me, but it was supposed to be pretty political and includes assassinations as well. Sounds great if I'm honest. This game isn't coming out true. Sounds shit if I'm honest. Now, though this game was never officially cancelled, it was just left there forever, and Rockstar haven't talked about it in nearly 10 years. I believe I also read somewhere that it was picked up by another team and then they officially cancelled it, so I guess what I'm saying is, don't hold your breath on this one. Star Wars 1313. Now, this sounded like a game that I could really sink my teeth into. I love me a bit of Star Wars, but I was also curious to explore the universe with the Jedi and lightsabers put to the side for once, and Star Wars 1313 promised to do exactly that. Set in the lower levels of Coruscant, we would follow the life of Boba Fett during his youth, presumably after his father's head got chopped off by Samuel Jackson in Episode 2, and see how he ends up becoming a bounty hunter. This game was introduced to us as a darker, grittier version of the Star Wars tale that we're all aware of. But as we all know, Disney took over the Star Wars license a few years back, meaning that all Star Wars IP, both existing and in development, now belong to them, and they decided to stop working on it. And much like with Agent, though this game was never officially cancelled, it might as well be, because as of right now, it's still sat there not being worked on and may never be worked on ever again. But who needs a new Star Wars story with a fresh approach when you could just rehash the original trilogy all over again? Hey Disney.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
Silent Hills. And of course, there was no way I could make a list of awesome games that never saw the light of day and not include Silent Hills. And yes, I'm still pissed about this one. There was a time not too long ago when Konami were both really good at being mysterious and interesting when it came to promoting their games, as well as being total shit with their IP. After all, there was the whole conspiracy behind what the Phantom Pain was originally when we first heard about it, which turned out to be the next Metal Gear Solid. But after years of not managing to recapture the glory of the olden days, the Silent Hill franchise decided to take a similar approach. Announcing a small indie horror game called PT, the gaming community was blown away with this incredibly intense and creepy title. It doesn't take long to finish and isn't exactly anything blockbuster, but the impact it had upon the community was astounding. And as it turns out, PT was Konami's test subject to see how the gaming community would react to their latest Silent Hill title that was also in the works. Well, judging by how overwhelmingly positive PT was received, surely that'd be a giveaway to how we'd receive this new game titled Silent Hills. However, in one of the most confusing and infuriatingly stupid moves in development history, Konami came to the conclusion that players wouldn't want a new Silent Hill title. In response to the success that PT was seeing, Konami not only cancelled their new project, but also removed PT from stores. As of right now, it is impossible to get hold of PT. And as for Silent Hills, never saw the light of day, much to our dismay. But we're dealing with Konami after all, and Konami are under the impression that players don't want new awesome games, they want pachinko machines. And thus, it is with great pleasure that a Konami title takes the #1 spot on this list. So that video just ended, but if you would prefer if everything was a pachinko machine, then like this video and subscribe to this channel. Unfortunately, you won't find any pachinko machines on Twitter or Patreon, but you will find me on there, and you can find the links to those in the description below. But enough said, and with that, I'm out of here. But until I post another shit video up next, see ya!
Sometimes I think this life is killing me. Sometimes I think this life is killing me.